What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I'm going to be talking about control freaks. I'm going to talk about what they are, how they work and what they do, and my thoughts and impressions on control freak products. Let's get into it. Alright, so I'm going to start this off by saying that I am affiliated with Control Freaks. As of last week, I actually became an affiliate of Control Freaks, but I'm going to explain my entire relationship with them so you understand where I'm coming from with this video. So as an affiliate, I'm given a discount code, which I'll share with you guys in a little bit. This will give you 10% off any purchase you make with Control Freaks, and anytime somebody uses that code, I get a small commission from that purchase. That is the entire relationship that I have with Control Freaks. I've actually not even signed any contracts with them, so I am not bound to say only positive things about Control Freaks, and I am not paid to do any sort of review. I'm not even asked to do any sort of review. I'm just doing this on my own to try and help you guys out with a new product, and also, you know, get a little bit of a commission on the side. But it's not really even going to be much. It's not like I'm getting rich off of this or anything like that. It's a little bit of extra money on the side. One thing that I want to make very clear is that I will not promote any product that I don't personally believe in and that I don't personally use. I've been using Control Freak products for 4 years now, since Modern Warfare 2, and I actually have a hard time playing without them now. I have a Control Freak on every one of my controllers, and I always use them anytime I'm playing a game. So that's enough of that. Let's get into what Control Freaks actually are. Well, they're actually quite simple. They're just a small thumbstick that attaches to the existing thumbstick on your controller without having to alter anything. They just snap on and snap off very easily, and they don't damage your controller, and they're actually very durable products as well. I said I have been using Control Freak products for 4 years. I actually use the same Control Freaks on my PS3 and Xbox 360. The same 2 Control Freaks I still have and still use today. They have not broken or worn down in all of those years of gaming. The thing I like most about these products is that they're extremely inexpensive when you consider the hundreds, if not thousands of hours of use that you'll get out of them. The price for a pack of 2 Control Freaks, which is the standard size, you can get a 4-pack I believe, but for 2 Control Freaks, it ranges from $10 to $15 depending on the model. So it's extremely inexpensive. Now some of you guys may be unfamiliar with Control Freaks, and you might be wondering what they actually do to help you improve your game, or what is the purpose of having a Control Freak? Well, basically, all they do is they extend the length of your thumbstick, which allows for more precision by giving you a larger range of motion with your thumb. So the longer you go with your thumbstick, the further away you get from the actual pivot point on your thumbstick, and this allows you to move that thumbstick left to right or front to back in a much larger area, which gives you a lot more precision within that area. So if you want to just move it a little bit, it's really easy to do when you're really far away from the pivot point, whereas if you're right next to that pivot point of the thumbstick, it's really hard to make just a tiny adjustment. So it really allows you to make finer movements by having a longer thumbstick. This ability to make fine movements with your control will often allow you to increase your sensitivity higher than it would be without a Control Freak, and you can still aim very well with this higher sensitivity, because normally if you increase your sensitivity too much, you kind of lose control over your aim. But with a Control Freak, you have a lot more control over this higher sensitivity. And then you also get the advantages of having that higher sensitivity, like snapping between targets really quickly. If you have one guy on your left and one guy on your right, you can finish your kill on your left and then quickly snap over to the guy on your right. Or if someone sneaks up behind you or something like that, you can spin around and kill him really quickly, and you're not sacrificing your aim. So that's how Control Freaks work, and you might be wondering now which model would be right for you, because there are quite a few Control Freak models out there. A lot of them are basically just cosmetic changes, but some of them actually will have an impact on how the Control Freak reacts in your particular hands. I personally have only used the classic Control Freaks on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, which are interchangeable by the way, so if the product doesn't specifically say Xbox One or PS4, then it will work for both the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Otherwise, you have to get the model that's specifically designed for your console. So besides that classic Control Freak that I used for those consoles, I also use a CQC model for the Xbox One. And the funny thing is, I actually ordered this Control Freak for the Xbox One before I bought the console, because I just can't stand playing without a Control Freak. So I wanted to make sure I had my Control Freak before I got the Xbox One. So there are tons of other lengths and shapes and colors of Control Freaks that you can get, But the things you want to focus on when you're looking at a Kontrol Freek are really the length as well as the shape. As for length, the longer you go, the greater the range of motion that you'll have, and the more fine control that you'll have. But one thing that you'll have to think about a little bit is the size of your hand. I've heard from people that have smaller hands that it can be a little bit uncomfortable having a longer Kontrol Freek because they have to kind of stretch their thumb over to be able to reach it. So if you do have smaller hands, I recommend going with something like a CQC or something that's a little bit shorter and you don't have to stretch nearly as much. If you do have average to larger size hands, I definitely recommend going with a longer model because this gives you that full range of motion that you're looking for. Other than length, the shape is also very important when selecting your model. Some people will prefer more of a concave style similar to the Xbox controllers where it's kind of got a divot in the middle of the thumbstick. And others will prefer more of the dome style or a convex shape, kind of like the PS3 controller has. This really comes down to personal preference. I personally prefer more of a concave shape like the Xbox controllers because I feel like my thumb sort of fits into that little divot and I get more contact with my thumb on the actual thumbstick, and I have a feeling this gives me more control personally. But others that prefer the dome will often say that they feel like they can make a much more fluid movement with a domed stick because it kind of rolls around on their thumb. And I can see that side of it as well, so like I said, it's just personal preference and just choose what you feel would work best for you personally. So if you do decide to get some Kontrol Freeks, just keep in mind it does take a little bit of getting used to it first, so expect it to feel a little weird. This is kind of obvious though. Most of us spend thousands of hours with a controller in our hand, and suddenly with a Kontrol Freek you're changing something up a little bit, so it does take a little bit of time for your hands as well as your mind to get used to having something different in your hand. So make sure you actually invest a little bit of time with the Kontrol Freek before making a decision on whether or not you like it. I see some people complaining about Kontrol Freeks. They say they tried it for a game and it didn't help them at all. Of course it doesn't. You do have to get used to it and you have to get a feel for it first. I bet if you spend a few hours with a Kontrol Freek, after that few hours you'll really start to see the benefits of having a Kontrol Freek. One last thing that I want to mention that you may have noticed with my controller is that I only use a Kontrol Freek on my right analog stick. And just in case you're wondering, the Kontrol Freeks do come in packs of 2, like I said earlier, but I find that you only need to make fine movements on your right analog stick because your left analog stick is really only used for movement, and you don't really need any precision there. The precision is needed in your right analog stick because that's what you aim with. So this means I always have a spare Kontrol Freek laying around. It's either on my second controller, so if someone comes over to play, then they can use a Kontrol Freek as well. Or if one of my Kontrol Freeks were to ever break, which like I said, it hasn't happened to me yet after 4 years of using a Kontrol Freek. I've never broken one. But if it were to break, I've always got a spare. So that's going to wrap it up for today's video on Kontrol Freeks. Remember, if you do decide to make a purchase with them, you can use my code, which is exclusive. It's on the screen here. There's no E at the beginning. It's exactly the way it's spelled on the screen. And using that code will get you 10% off your purchase, and then I'll also get a little bit of a commission from that. If you already use Kontrol Freeks, please feel free to leave a comment on this video sharing your experiences with Kontrol Freeks. This will just give people more sources of information to look at, and they're not just trusting my personal opinion, they're also trusting other people's opinions as well. And keep in mind, even if you don't like Kontrol Freeks, then leave us a comment saying why you didn't like them, and help people make an informed decision while buying these products. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Let's go, bitch.